Okay, so here we have one of our new 2024 Skye motorhomes. Really lovely motorhome. It's a Rollerteam Zefiro 675. Now, when you come to unlock the door, push the top button on the key once to unlock the front door, or double tap it, and that will unlock the back door as well. So we've got central locking on the habitation door on this one, great feature. In behind the front passenger door here, open this flap and you have your diesel filler. So it's an easy fill, just push the nozzle straight in there to fill up. Down below here we have the cap for the Adblue. Now we will have topped up your Adblue. Adblue reduces the diesel emissions by up to 80%. If you run out of Adblue, it'll either go into limp mode or the engine won't start. So it is important to keep it topped up, but the range is normally about 3,000 to 4,000 miles on a full tank of Adblue, and we'll always top it up before you depart. So you should never need to put any in unless you're on a really long hire. So that's your diesel and Adblue there. Okay, so just coming to the gas locker. Inside you have your gas bottle. We always supply enough gas for your cooking and a bit of off-grid use, but if you plan to stay off-grid a few nights, you'll probably need a spare gas bottle because the appliances run off gas when you're off-grid. So when you park up, just open the valve on top of the bottle. Anti-clockwise to open, clockwise to close it off. But the thread for the hose here, if you're switching over to a spare bottle, there would ordinarily be a spare bottle next to this. This is a reverse thread, so you can see it says close this way and open this way, so it's a reverse thread on the bayonet there. But yeah, just when you park up, open the valve on top of the bottle, and before you drive away, close it off. Now, if you're unsure if you've run out of gas, one really quick and easy way to check is just double check the valves open on top of the bottle. Double check that the yellow valve in line with the regulator is open. It's in line with the gas pipe, up and down. And then just light your hob. And if you've got a steady flame on your hob, then you know you've still got gas in the bottle. Okay, so moving along, coming past the habitation door, under this flap you have your connection for the electric hookup. So the end of the cable that's got the cap on it, lift the cap up, slide it in over the top there, make sure it's pushed in firmly, and to release it, just push the black lever down there. That'll lift the back of the cap so that you can disconnect the cable. Always make sure you disconnect your cable before driving away, obviously, and make sure your gas is turned off before driving. This is for external gas appliances. We don't actually supply anything, and the chance of you having brought any external gas appliances very low, so we'll just ignore that one for now. Coming along to your garage space, use the smaller habitation key to unlock this. So just turn it anti-clockwise 180 degrees to unlock that. There we go, and the buttons pop out. You can then twist those to undo the handles, and that will come round like so. Under the rear bed, you've got your camping chairs, camping table, electric hookup, your hose for topping up the water, a floor towel, road safety kit. Everything that you're going to need is under here. Your blackout blinds for the front windscreen as well will be under here. So I'll just close that one up again. There we go. When you close these, just twist the handle. That holds the door closed, but if these don't stay in, it's still unlocked. So grab the key, turn it 180 degrees again, push it in, and if it stays in, that's it locked. There we go. Coming round to the back, you've got your bike rack. Fairly self-explanatory, but please just remember to make sure the straps are always done up tight before you drive away or after you've taken bikes off. These work loose and they'll just fall off as you're driving, and it can go unnoticed. Just make sure all of these are done up tight before driving. You've got a reverse camera. We always recommend not relying on it. So you've got a long 2-meter overhang from the rear axle, so we always advise one of the front passengers jump out, guide you back whenever you're reversing, and you'll eliminate so much of your risk of knocking the rear bumper. So coming around this side, you've got the other garage door there, but that just goes into the same space under the rear bed. And then next we've got your toilet cassette. So just unlock that, push both buttons in as you pull the door open there. And then to remove your toilet cassette, lift the blue lever underneath to slide that one out. Now if that doesn't slide out really easy, it will be because the flap on the inside of the toilet or the hatch on the inside of the toilet is open. So on the front of the toilet there's a grey lever that you push to the right to open and back to the left to close. That needs to be closed before you remove your toilet cassette. If it is open and you yank that, the mechanism will fall apart and it ruins the cassette basically. So it's always important to make sure that comes out really easy. Now, to empty this, pull the nozzle around there, undo your blue cap, remove that. I'll just leave that there for the moment. And then empty it down the chemical disposal on your campsite. Push the blue button on the back there to stop the air vacuum. If you don't push that, it'll be glug, glug, glug splashing everywhere. Push the button there, it'll empty a lot faster and quicker, and it'll carry all of the waste out with it. So it's a much cleaner job. And then afterwards, you can just slide the flap back there, open it up, and just check if everything's come out. If it hasn't, just close that up again. Put some water in there. Wherever there's a chemical disposal on a campsite, you'll always, or generally always, have a hose next to it. And with a push button tap, just line that up with the nozzle there, push the button, put a couple of litres of water back in, give it a good old shake and empty it out. And we would always ask that you do that at least a couple of times before returning the motorhome so that it's clean on return for the next person. Once you've emptied it, fill this cap with the green chemicals. Sorry, that's something I need to say. So in the back in your garage space, you've got the green toilet chemicals. We always use eco chemicals so you can empty on all campsites, including those with septic tanks. And then you would just fill that cap with the green chemicals that are in your garage space, pour it in there, and then you're good to go again. So that's your toilet cassette. This little catch here is for when you open your garage door, you can clip it on there. And then next you've got your water fill point. So when that's locked, it'll just spin. So hold it still, pop the key in, unlock it, and then you can remove the cap. Oh, that's really full. So sometimes when you fill it, it's slightly off level, you're actually above the fill point when it comes back to level. It's all sealed, so it's perfectly fine. But yeah, that's obviously been filled right up on a slant. When you do fill it up, use the hose that's in the back. It's a run flat hose. Unravel it completely and just hold the hose in line with your fill point and fill it up until it overflows like so. And then you know it's full. Once you've finished with the hose, please squeeze it through your hand to squeeze the excess water out before you put it back on the reel, just so that you don't get a puddle in the back of the van. So I'm just going to leave that for a moment actually. There's quite a lot of excess water in there. Next over here we've got the Flue. So you don't need to do anything with this, but it's just worth bearing in mind that if you've got your heating or hot water running on the gas, this will get hot, so don't touch it. And the other thing is, on the window up above here, you've got a little sensor to detect if you open the window when this is on. And the reason that's there is to cut out the boiler if you do open the window when it's running, so that you don't get the fumes coming back inside. So it's a little safety feature. One last thing to show you underneath here is your grey waste handle. So this empties all of the water that goes down your sinks or shower, and you just pull that handle towards you like so, and then it'll empty out at the end of that rod. So it's about 2 foot under the van. Once it's all drained out, on all campsites where you've got your motorhome service point where you would fill up the fresh water, you'll normally have a metal grid on the ground that you would drive over the top to empty your grey water. Whenever you check into a campsite, just ask them where the motorhome service point is. And then line that valve up at the end of that rod over the grid, pull your handle, and that will drain out. And it obviously takes a few minutes, and we always recommend while you're emptying your wastewater, fill up your fresh water or vice versa. And then once it's empty, just push that close there and you're good to go again. So that's everything on the outside here. One thing to bear in mind is your wing mirrors. They're obviously extended because the body comes out behind the cab here. We would always advise not folding them in if the road's narrow, because all you're doing is you're exposing the side of the motorhome. You'd much rather someone clip a little indicator unit on the side of the wing mirror, and that costs £40 as opposed to £4,000 hitting the side of the motorhome. So if they're that close, they're too close. Just when you start driving, check your mirrors way more than you would normally. Left, right, get used to your spatial awareness. And if the road is narrow, just pull into the left-hand side as tight as you can get. Stop, wait for the other vehicle to pass, and then carry on your way. And then it's their liability if they do knock you. But as long as you're in as tight as you can get, you should be fine. So that's everything on the outside of the motorhome. Just one other thing to bear in mind: your height on this. There'll be a sticker inside the windscreen says 3.3 meters. You're just slightly under 3.3 meters, but just be wary of height barriers. Obviously, never attempt to go under a height barrier in a motorhome. It's never going to work. And the other thing is low bridges, so just be wary of low bridges. But otherwise, that's everything on the outside, and a couple of little driving tips for you there.
So up above the door here, we have the control panel. So I'm going to push the home button to turn this on. And now we'll wait until you see the white Bluetooth sign come up in the top right of the screen. There we go. And we're going to wait another few seconds. If you push any of the buttons too quickly, it hasn't finished loading properly, and you'll just need to turn it off again and reboot it. So best to just wait a few seconds after seeing that. So first we're going to click into resources in the top left, and you'll see the starter battery is 12.7 volts. Leisure battery is 14.6. So this is over 100%. So we know this is currently taking a charge through the solar panel. 100% is about 12.9 to 13 volts. An empty battery, just for note, is about 11.5. Once you're down to about 11.8, you've probably only got about 10% of your battery left. So at that point, if you're off grid, we'd recommend just start the engine, turn it over for 20-30 minutes, give it a good charge. And if you're on a campsite, just make sure your hookup's connected properly. Starter batteries would tend to sit between 12.4 and 12.7 volts, and they obviously charge as you're driving. So the water over on the right hand side, this, when it's full, it will be 100%, and then it drops to 66%, 33%, and then 0. So this is actually sitting above 2/3 of a tank. Yes, that's your water levels there, and you can either push the back arrow or home to come back to the main screen. On the bottom left, we have your switches. And then on the left-hand side there, we have your water pump. So you need this on for any of your taps to work or the toilet flush to work. The outdoor light, that's a light up above the door on the outside. Just give that a good push there. There we go. And then interior light. This is effectively your internal 12-volt power. So you need the interior lights on for your TV 12-volt power to work as well. And then we're going to push home here to come back here, and we'll click into room climate. So I'm going to click into heating on the left hand side there. The energy source is set to gas. The current temperature inside is 14 degrees. This is the thermostat over here where it reads the temperature, and we've got it set to 19 degrees. So now you'll see it's just turned on and the circles are starting to flash red. In a moment you would hear the boiler fire up under the front seat behind the driver's seat. It's the rear twin seats just over here. The boiler sits under there, and there's a flue that goes out the wall there. Now, if you're on a campsite with electric hookup, you would click into your energy source, and where it says electricity off, you would then click into 1800 watt, just over there. I'm going to turn that off again because we don't have the electric hookup connected, so that would just trigger a fault code. You can run it on gas and electric if you're on a hookup as well, if it's really cold. But during the spring, summer, and autumn months, you should be fine just running it on electric if you're on an electric hookup. So then I'm going to push the back arrow here. Come here. We've left that turned on, and it's set to 19 degrees. So now you'll see the green turquoisey line and the temperature that it's set to. And if I click into that again and push the power button up at the top, that's turning it off, and you'll see the lines have gone away. And then the same for the hot water. We'll click in, click turn on. The energy source is the same principle, with electricity at the bottom, gas at the top. And then you've got three options. So you've got 70 degrees, 60 degrees, and 40 degrees. Now you'll see that for 40 degrees it indicates dishes, and then the 60 degrees it indicates shower, and 70 degrees long shower. Now it's worth bearing in mind that your water tank holds 100 litres of water. The pump at full flow is capable of 7.5 litres per minute. So you'd potentially run out of water in about 15 minutes. The way these boilers work is similar to, if you think of the way an urn would work or a kettle, the boiler's going to hold 10 litres of water. When it's set to 70 degrees, that's sufficient for, it is sufficient for a long shower because it's obviously mixing with the cool water as it comes through the taps. But you will need to let this heat up again if you plan on having more than one shower after another. And obviously bear in mind that you've potentially only got about 15 minutes of water at full flow anyway. So we tend to recommend save your showers for when you're on campsite. It's just a lot easier. But obviously you do have a shower on board, and feel free to use it. So I'm going to just turn the power off there and then come back to the main menu. If you trigger a fault code, for example, the gas is turned off outside, but you've just turned the boiler on gas, the boiler is going to recognise that there's no gas coming through. It's going to trigger a fault code. Now, if that happens, you'll see red lines on the control panel and notifications will be lit up. So you would click into that. It's currently no notifications, but if there is one, click the arrow to click into the notification. If it was no gas, just jump outside, make sure your gas bottle's turned on. A good way to double check if you do have gas is to just lift the hob here and just light the hob. If you have a good flow of gas coming through, like so, then you know that your gas is on. So that's a great way to double check if your gas is working or not. And then just click declare issue resolved and reset it. Sometimes you need to turn the control panel off and on again just to help that process. But that's your main control panel right there.
So, coming through the mode under the units, you see you've got a little blue light there. You can touch your hand under there to turn the lights on, and the same over on this side here. You've got 2 light switches down here for the main living space lights. Your plug sockets, they're 230 volts. That's a separate 230 volt wiring loom, so they'll only work when you've got an electric hookup on a campsite. Otherwise, you're just running on a 12 volt leisure battery. Under the table down here, you've got 2 USBs. One of them's 2.1 amp, one's 2 amp, one's 1.2 amp. 1 amp, sorry, 1 amp and 2.1 amp. And then under there, you've got another plug socket. Coming through to the kitchen, you've got 3-ring gas hob. Just works the same as a regular cooker in the house. Hold it down and round to turn it on. And then below that, you've got your gas oven and grill. To operate the oven, just turn this anti-clockwise, hold it in to ignite it, and that's obviously working on the oven. You can close the door when it's on the oven. Back to the middle to turn it off, and for the grill, just hold it round to the flame, hold that in, push the ignition, that's on the grill. Now, the only thing we ask when you're operating the grill is you keep the door fully open. If the door's up like this, it drives the heat up and it can damage the worktop, so please just keep the door fully open when you've got it on the grill. And another thing with your oven tray, we'd recommend wrap this in a tea towel, leave it in the sink when you're driving so that it doesn't rattle. If you leave that in there, metal on metal, it's going to rattle a lot as you're driving along. So we tend to wrap that in a tea towel and just leave it in the sink. Under here, you've got your cutlery, utensils, everything that you'll need in there. And then you've got your plates and bowls and chopping board and what have you under there. And then in the cupboards up above, just push the buttons down, pull the door open, and just feel if anything's leaning on the door ready to fall out. And if it is, reach your hand under and catch it. You obviously don't want anything heavy falling out onto the worktop or the glass hob cover. So you see you've got pots and pans, bowls, colander, everything you're going to need. Whistle kettle. In this side you've got your glasses, mugs, cafetiere, and then you've got a little cleaning kit up there as well. Washing up liquid, cloth sponge in the little holder there above the sink. And then coming through to the fridge controls. So, to turn on your fridge, hold the black square button. If you've got a blue light in the middle of the power button, the fridge is on. If it's red, it's off. This is currently set to gas and it's running at 5 bars. 5's going to get too cold. So, to adjust your settings, hold the white square button in until it's only the power source flashing. There we go. We'll release that. Move it over one. The next one is your battery. That's effectively, it's actually the alternator, so it only works when the engine's running. And then you've got your plug for when you're on an electric hookup. And the next one is A for automatic. So I'm going to select A for automatic. As I say, 5 is going to be too cold, so I'm going to move it down to 3 and then select. We now have a blue light in the middle there, so we know that the fridge is on. It's running on automatic and it's triggered the gas. And essentially, you can just leave it on automatic now. When you go to drive away, turn the gas off just before you jump in the front cab to start the engine, and then this will automatically switch over to the battery. And then when you park up, turn your gas on and it will turn on again. And when you plug in the electric hookup, it will trigger the electric, the plug setting. The fridge can have a 15-minute timeout after you stop the engine, just to give you time to turn on your gas and what have you. So if you've just parked up and you see that it's not on, you can just hold the black square button in there, turn it off, turn it on again, and it will re-trigger whatever's available. So obviously just make sure that you've got your gas valve turned on outside or your electric hookup cables plugged in. In the fridge, you've got a little freezer up at the top, and then your extra drinks fridge down at the bottom there. So in the back here, you've got your larger of the bunk beds up at the top. So this is effectively the size of a small double, and then you've got a large single down below. you've got two reading lights up above the rear bed here, and they've got USB sockets in the side there, so you can plug your phone charging cables in there, and then you've got the switches on the side there. This light up above us, you've got your light switch up there, and there's another little light switch around behind the fridge, and that will do your blue lights on the floor. So if you want a little night light, then you can turn that one on there. Now, up above the bed, you've got window here and one up here. So we'll just come back over to this window here. If you can just reverse, there we go, thank you. Now to open this, push the button in, pull the handle down, and you can open it like so. It's really important to make sure these windows are closed before you drive. You've got two roof windows here, window over the cab, little window round above the bed there and above the bed on that side, and you've got your toilet window that are really easy to miss, but it's so imperative to make sure those are all fully locked before you drive away, otherwise they're just going to fly away. So to avoid ruining your holiday, just make sure before you drive away all of those windows are fully locked. Now you've got blackout blinds built in, and that's the same in all of the windows. The side windows, you just squeeze that, pull that up there, and then you can pull the net down from up above, and then just like so, and then slide that up to close. And then in the morning, just slide that down, unhook it at the side there, unhook it at the side there. I'll try and make this look a little bit easier. There we go. That's it. And then you can drop that down there. So that's your window blinds. And the last thing to show you is just your toilet. So coming in here, I'll just squeeze around here. You've got your light switch in under the cupboard up at the top there. And you've got some good storage space to keep your toothbrushes and toiletries there. And then down here, we've got your toilet. So you can spin the toilet round to suit. You obviously don't want to be sitting square on with your knees banging against the wall. This is your grey lever. So open the toilet, push the grey lever to the right to open the hatch. Always open it before you use the toilet. Use the toilet as you would normally, and then push the blue button behind here to flush. And then once that's all drained through to the toilet cassette, pull that grey lever back to the left to close it off. Obviously you don't want to hold the flush any longer than you need to and fill that up too quickly. And just behind here you'll see there's a green indicator. If that turns red, the toilet is full, stop using it. It's going to overflow and you'll be mopping up your own toilet waste around the cassette and underneath. And if it's too bad, the whole toilet's got to come out to clean underneath, so it's a really expensive mistake. So just make sure you always empty the toilet cassette before it gets too full. These sensors don't always work. If there's toilet paper on the inside of the toilet cassette, it can obstruct it. It won't always work. So use some common sense as well. When you open this, if you see the toilet waste getting up close to the level of that disc, stop using the toilet. You don't want it to be more than about 2 centimeters below that disc. That's your toilet. And then you've got your basin here, and then your shower. Shower's really self-explanatory. Just pull that button there, take the strap off, and then the shower screen will fold round, slot it in to the little channel there, and then from the inside you can push the screen out. It's obviously a bit hard to do it from the outside, but that's your shower screen. And I think that's everything for the inside of the motorhome. And up above the cab here you've got your king size bed. So to drop this down, just undo the buckle up at the top there, like so, and then you can drop that down. If you can't reach the buckle, just slip your shoe off, stand on the chair there, and you can obviously reach that. And then just over here you've got your ladder, so you just pull that round there, hook that on the side, and you can just twist these to lock it in place. There we go. Really comfy large beds. The blackout blind on the skylight there, just slide the aluminium rail up to close your blackout blind, and the side windows work the same as these windows here. Obviously just a little recap there, just make sure they're locked before you drive, as we said earlier. But yeah, that's your Skye motorhome. I hope you have a lovely holiday. Any questions, don't hesitate to phone us. We're always here to help.